In our last video, we explored a specific morning beverage that researchers are studying for its connection with joint mobility and morning stiffness. Today, I want to shift the focus to a topic that often receives less attention than it deserves. I regularly review scientific research on healthy aging, but I am not a medical doctor. This content is for educational purposes only. Always consult your physician before starting any exercise or recovery protocol. What does the scientific evidence actually say about the most effective recovery strategies for adults over 50? And what can we learn from the habits of elite athletes who have maintained physical function well into their 40s? I will show you 3 evidence-based pillars of recovery that research has consistently associated with better long-term outcomes. Stay until the end to find out which one is the most important. And tell me in the comments. Think about this for a moment. Tom Brady played professional football until age 45. LeBron James is still competing at an elite level in the NBA at age 41. Together, they represent over 4 decades of peak athletic performance. The common thread is not luck. It is a systematic approach to recovery. In May of 2026, Stanford University's ELITE study, an international research project investigating the genetic determinants of endurance in elite athletes, featured one participant whose cross-country cycling journey helped highlight how factors beyond genetics may contribute to athletic longevity. Around the same time, a 30-year study from Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, tracked over 147,000 adults and found that those who engaged in 90 to 120 minutes of resistance training per week had a 13% lower risk of premature death and a 19% lower risk of death from cardiovascular disease. Research suggests that what makes elite performers different is not that they do exotic things. It is that they do the fundamentals consistently. Individual responses vary depending on health status, medical history, and lifestyle. Today, we will look at 3 pillars of recovery that the evidence supports, regardless of your budget or fitness level. Pillar number 1, consistent resistance training. The 2026 Harvard study of over 147,000 participants found that consistent resistance training across decades was associated with lower all-cause mortality. LeBron James incorporates resistance training year-round. But the clinical evidence supporting resistance training as a protective factor in healthy aging comes from decades of peer-reviewed research, not from any single individual's approach. The National Institutes of Health recommend that adults over 50 engage in muscle-strengthening activities at least 2 days per week, targeting all major muscle groups. Pillar number 2, strategic temperature recovery. The use of cold exposure for recovery has been studied across multiple clinical trials. A 2025 meta-analysis published in Nature Scientific Reports, analyzing 11 randomized controlled trials, concluded that whole-body cryotherapy may influence markers associated with recovery after exercise. The Mayo Clinic has noted that controlled cold exposure has been used by many professional athletes as part of their recovery protocols. Brief, controlled cold exposure, such as a cool shower, has been studied as one possible recovery strategy after exercise. It is important to note, however, that cold showers have not been studied to the same extent as whole-body cryotherapy. Individual results vary. Pillar number 3, recovery first sleep architecture. LeBron James has stated publicly that he prioritizes extended sleep as part of his recovery protocol. He describes sleep as putting his phone in a charger. Harvard Health Publishing explains that deep sleep is the stage during which the pituitary gland releases growth hormone, which stimulates tissue repair and muscle protein synthesis. As we age, the depth and duration of deep sleep naturally decline. Protecting sleep quality through consistent timing, reduced blue light exposure before bed, and maintaining a cool room temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit for many adults may help support the body's natural recovery processes. But here is the part that I find most interesting. None of these elite athletes attribute their longevity to a supplement or a device. They attribute it to discipline in the fundamentals. And those fundamentals are accessible to almost anyone. Now, let us look at how you can apply these 3 principles starting this week. Let us start with the first pillar in practice: 2 resistance training sessions per week, 25 to 30 minutes each. Focus on compound movements that engage multiple muscle groups. Harvard's 30-year data suggests that consistency matters more than intensity. Bodyweight squats, wall push-ups, resistance band rows, and seated leg raises are sufficient. The goal is not maximum load. It is sustained function. For the second pillar in practice, if you choose to experiment with cold exposure, start conservatively. Even a brief period of cool water at the end of a shower, at a temperature you find tolerable, has been studied as a possible recovery aid. The principle of controlled cold exposure, rather than extreme temperatures, is what may matter. Start warm, end cool. Your body adapts over time. And for the third pillar in practice, build a recovery-focused sleep routine. Aim for 7 to 9 hours. Keep the bedroom cool. Reduce screen exposure 30 minutes before bed. This single intervention, done consistently, may have a greater cumulative impact on how you feel and recover than any other strategy discussed in this video. The reason recovery can seem complicated is that there is a financial incentive to make it so. Recovery products are heavily marketed as shortcuts to elite-level performance. Yet the core practices that consistently emerge from the scientific literature are strikingly simple. Tom Brady has popularized, through his personal approach to training, an emphasis on muscle pliability, consistent soft tissue work, an anti-inflammatory diet rich in whole foods, and rigorous hydration. It is worth noting that the TB12 method is Brady's personal philosophy and has not been validated as a clinical intervention through controlled trials. Independent of any specific methodology, however, the general principles of consistent movement, whole foods nutrition, and adequate hydration align with what the broader evidence suggests. LeBron James's protocol centers on cold therapy, compression, sleep, and nutrition. Neither credits a magic supplement, both credit consistency. Yet here is what is interesting. Nutritional guidelines from the National Institutes of Health and the eSPEN Consensus Group indicate that adequate protein intake, approximately 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, along with a dietary pattern rich in whole foods and healthy fats, is associated with better long-term health markers in the scientific literature. The fundamentals work. They are just not always easy to package and sell. Which of these 3 pillars will you focus on this week? Comment number 1, 2, or 3. I read every comment. In our next video, we will explore a specific dietary pattern that researchers at Harvard have been studying for its connection to cellular energy production after 50. Subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss it. I will see you in the next one.